Andrew Berry just had his end of the year press conference, and we learned a lot from it because he opened up with, before you guys ask any questions, I've got some news to share, and that is Deshaun Watson has suffered a setback in his Achilles rehab. So let's dive right into the key takeaways from AB's presser, starting with Deshaun Watson Achilles injury setback, which to me, this just screams the Browns told him, looks like you suffered a setback. Watson, no, I didn't. No, I think you did. No, it doesn't feel fine. Now, Deshaun Watson said that at his exit interview after the season ended on Sunday, he told the team trainers something doesn't feel right, and they took a look at it, and Watson was right. There is a setback in his recovery. That's really all we learned. Barry did not offer any kind of timeline for when we can expect to see Watson. He wouldn't say definitively if Watson would or would not play in 2025. I don't think we're going to see Deshaun Watson for much of, if at all, in 2025. I mean, when I hear setback for Achilles, to me that sounds like we are restarting the clock, right? We got the offensive rebound and we're going to reset the shot clock, meaning if he suffered that injury in October and got the surgery October 15th, 25th, whatever the date was, well, it was 9 to 12 months from then. Now it's January, 9 to 12 months from there, and we're talking about possibly missing all of 2025. And I doubt the Browns have any rush to get him back on the field because from a financial standpoint, they stand to gain by having Deshaun Watson sit at home every single Sunday. The Browns picked up injury insurance on Deshaun Watson's contract, which in hindsight was an excellent idea by whoever thought of that. And they have $44.3 million insured for 2025. So they can get some salary cap relief for 2026 if Watson misses all of 2025 or every single game in 2025 that he misses. So now you start to think about it like, okay, if he misses all of 2025 and then they release him with a post-June 1 designation in 2026, there's not going to be this huge dead cap hit coming because they've got that injury insurance relief coming for them the next season. So whether or not he suffered a real setback or not, I don't really know. My guess is he probably did. This seems like a tough one to pull over because what's stopping Watson from just, letting the truth out and making the Browns look like liars and probably breaking a couple NFL rules and whatnot. But I think the Browns ultimately gain if Deshaun Watson is out for the entire 2025 season due to injury because from a salary cap standpoint, they are in a much better spot in the future if they can get some relief with that injury insurance. So now the question becomes, what do the Browns do for their starting quarterback? Do they draft a quarterback with the second overall draft pick? Do they go with a veteran option? They definitely don't stick with like Dorian Thompson-Robinson or Bailey Zappi. DTR is the only quarterback outside of Watson DTR is the only quarterback who's on the roster under contract for next year who's healthy right now. Jameis is going to be a free agent. They could re-sign him. They might. It's a little strange. They benched him to just re-sign him, but maybe the plan all along was we do not want to beat the Dolphins. We are in tank mode, and Dorian Tank Robinson is going to do a great job of that. My only pushback on that idea is then wouldn't you keep starting DTR in the final game of the season because he has shown he can do an incredible job of losing games for you? So why jeopardize that by starting Bailey Zappi, who has won some games in the NFL? So that kind of takes away from the idea of they sat Winston to just lose games intentionally. Just stick with the bit then and start DTR for the rest of the season. But I prefer the veteran option. I know that when you're picking number 2 overall, it's a great opportunity to kind of reset. You can get a good young quarterback on a rookie contract, and that 9 times out of 10 is an excellent plan. 2025 is the 1 time out of 10 where it does not work out, because I don't think Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders is going to be the almighty savior for Cleveland Browns football. I think there are just too many issues with their makeup and their profile as a prospect to use the second overall draft pick on. You have to value a second overall pick more than just, well, we want a new quarterback, so let's take one here because we are here. No. If you're going to go out and get a quarterback, go get the right quarterback, right? If you're going to make a big, expensive purchase, go all out. Like, don't go out and go, we kind of want a new whatever, TV, want a nice steakhouse, whatever it is. If you want a nice steak dinner, go to a nice steakhouse. Like, don't go to a Chili's and order their, no offense to Chili's, and order their sirloin. Like, go to a nice restaurant if that's what you're striving for. I'm sorry that this is not the year to have that goal accomplished in the draft, but the quicker we accept that, the quicker the Browns can be better in the future by using that second overall draft pick on a valuable premium blue chip prospect like Abdul Carter, okay, like Mason Graham, Calvin Bake, Ashton Genty, someone who I feel a lot more confident is going to be a good player in the NFL. Not just taking a quarterback so that we can buy ourselves a little bit of time and fall in love with the rookie quarterback process and give us some hope for the future. I think in a year from now, we'll just be picking a new quarterback in the first round. So let me ask you this question. Do you want to draft a quarterback at number 2? Give me a yes or give me a no. I'm typing no. Ideally, you trade back. But like I said in yesterday's video, it takes 2 to trade. So you have to find a team that does fall in love with one of these quarterbacks. I mean, one team that comes to mind, the Las Vegas Raiders. They have been linked and, rumored to be very interested in Shedeur for a long, long time. So I would not put it past the Raiders, who, by the way, don't make decisions based on logic. They are a much more emotionally driven franchise. All right, that's kind of the Raiders' MO, right? I would not be shocked if Mark Davis goes, I like Shedeur. I don't care what Mel Kiper says about him. We're going up to get Shedeur Sanders. They took a kicker in the first round, guys. A kicker. Do not put it past the Raiders to trade up for Shedeur Sanders. Second key takeaway, Myles Garrett staying. This was a big sigh of relief. Andrew Berry, who I always enjoy listening to his press conferences because he has a good head on his shoulders, and I know all the Ivy League jokes and whatnot, but he was, right to the point when it came to Myles Garrett, saying he will have, quote, and this was a fire me up quote, a direct ticket from Cleveland to Canton. There is no plan and no desire whatsoever internally for the Browns to explore trade options with Myles Garrett. I think what's likely going to happen is the Browns are going to give Myles Garrett a big, nice, fat contract extension, which he deserves, and he's going to go from making $25 million a season to something that starts with the number 3. Nick Bosa leads the NFL in terms of average salary amongst pass rushers at $34 million. Garrett's probably going to get a whole lot closer to 34 than he is right now. And that's likely going to be the resolution of him publicly saying, I don't want to be a part of a rebuild. Or I want to get paid more money if I am going to be a part of some kind of rebuild. And money talks. So I fully expect Garrett to stay. I think there is a 1% chance he gets dealt. I won't say 0 because I think that's a little bit naive, but I'm only going to put it at 1. Before we look at my other key takeaways, I do got to give a quick shout out to our awesome sponsor today, Game Time. Game Time has an awesome feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. One thing I love about Game Time is they offer the Game Time guarantee. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So if you want to go see the best team in the association right now, the Cleveland Cavaliers, or you're excited for Guardians baseball around the corner, or you want to go see the Buckeyes play in the Cotton Bowl, whatever it may be, download the Game Time app and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHAT Sports for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. It's also time to look at our third key takeaway from AB's press conference. And so now we look to Nick Chubb, who is going to be a free agent for the first time in his NFL career. And there are some fair questions about whether or not his time in Cleveland is going to be over. Chubb has been very public about he wants to be a Brown for his entire career, so that's encouraging to see he is motivated to come back. And as for the Browns' motivation, it's a little bit ambiguous. Andrew Berry on Nick Chubb saying it's always a challenging situation when one of your cornerstone players' contract is up. Those are decisions we have to work through over the next several weeks. We love Nick. My gut feeling is Nick Chubb is going to be either on the Browns roster in 2025 or he's not going to be on anyone's roster in 2025. I wouldn't rule out the Browns giving him a 1-year vet minimum contract just because they feel like he is worth a 53-man roster spot and he is worth a locker room presence. Because right now, the Browns, coming off their 3-14 season, they need some stability from their cornerstone guys. From a numbers standpoint, it's really hard to make any kind of argument for Nick Chubb coming back in a meaningful role. With more time, maybe he returns back to that 2022 form, or really just 2023 form before the injury, pre-injury. But in 8 games this year, it's a career low 3.3 yards per carry. And that really sucked because up until that season, or this season, he had averaged at least 5 yards a carry in every single year of his NFL career. And this year was, we don't need to harp on it too much, but an underwhelming season for Chubb, and it sucked to see him have another injury, so that's just more time rehabbing in the offseason. I mean, the guy's almost last 18 months of his life has just been rehabbing and not having any time away from football, so I feel for him on that standpoint because that's got to be miserable, but my guess is Chubb's either a Brown for a vet minimum contract or something like that, or he's just not in the NFL because I doubt he's going to get a whole lot of suitors or interest coming off this year from other teams that don't have that connection to him like the Browns do. Before we move on to my other key takeaways, I just want to take 15 seconds here to say thank you. We reached 40,000 subscribers last night. It's an incredible milestone to reach, and I'm so grateful and appreciative of everyone who has joined the channel. If you have not subscribed yet, you're in great company here, so go ahead and click that subscribe button. But to everyone who's been a subscriber for a month, a year, 2 years, 3 years, thank you guys for spending every single day or sometimes of the week with me. It means a ton. Fourth key takeaway, some injury updates aside from Deshaun Watson. Andrew Berry was asked about three guys in particular. We got Mike Hall, or 2 guys in particular, sorry. So Mike Hall, if you missed it on Saturday, suffered a knee injury. The Browns didn't say exactly what the injury was, but it's more like months long when it comes to when he could return. Now, Berry did, I think, by the way, quick sidebar here, Berry was a lot more willing to own up to mistakes during this press conference. And he had a tongue-in-cheek one when he said, I kind of learned my lesson last year when saying we expect Jed Wills and Jack Conklin to be ready to roll as soon as the season gets here, and that was not the case for either player. So he was not going to put his foot in his mouth with Mike Hall, which is definitely a little concerning because we might not see Hall for much of the offseason, and he is someone who needs the offseason. He was suspended for 5 games this year. He was spent 4 weeks on injured reserve. He missed a lot of football. The Browns need their first draft selection from 2024 on the field during OTAs, during minicamp, during training camp as much as possible because he was a top 52nd overall, I think, draft pick. There is a role for him and a big one, too, in 2025, and they're going to need him up to speed as quickly as possible. So it sucks for him that he has to spend much of the offseason, if not all, rehabbing this knee injury. Plus, he suffered a knee injury, like I said, during the season. So we're definitely going to kind of test Hall's character when it comes to how much work he's willing to put in the offseason to rehab that knee injury to get back and be ready for the start of 2025. As for Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, no real update at all. We continue to be told the update is we have no update. Barry said he's hopeful that he'll play in 2025. Definitely not super encouraging, which sucks to see, but fingers crossed we'll get JOK back on the field as soon as possible. He suffered a neck injury when trying to tackle Derrick Henry and haven't seen him since. And he's obviously a vital part of this defense. He is one of the core players, signed a 3-year contract extension right at the start of the season, and he had a nice start to the year. I mean, for a little while there, he was the only guy who had an interception, 3 sacks, 10 tackles for loss in 8 games. I mean, you can extrapolate that over a 17-game season. We're talking about 20 tackles for loss and 6 sacks after his true breakout 2023 season. So fingers crossed, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah can make a full recovery, and we can get him back on the field as soon as he is ready. Fifth and final takeaway I want to share is no major rebuild coming. If you're wondering if the Browns are going to start unloading assets and stockpiling draft picks and trading their key players away, at least if you go off of Andrew Berry's word, the answer is no. I don't envision an offseason where we are moving off from our core players. Now, what's open for interpretation is who is a core player. For example, honest question, Is David Njoku a core player? I think so. But maybe Barry's definition or idea of core players is Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, Nick Chubb, and Joel Bitonio, right? Those could be the only core players he has in mind. I would think Njoku is a core player, but that's someone who might be on the fence a little bit. But this definitely does not close the door on guys like Greg Newsome getting dealt, who's going into the fifth-year option, fully guaranteed contract, and the Browns could use a little bit of help in the salary cap room, although that's not a concern for me. So I don't think they trade Newsome just for cap relief, but it might be an added bonus for getting a draft pick as well as getting off that contract as well. So don't expect any blockbuster deals if we take Barry's word for it here, but we have to decide who is a core player, I suppose. So let me ask you this question to kind of wrap up the video before we get to what everyone's been waiting for. What's your confidence level in Andrew Barry? Scale of 1 to 10. I would say if 10 is this is the guy that's going to lead us to the promised land, 1 being they should have fired him yesterday, I'm at a 6.8. I want to say 6.9, but then it's a joke. 6.8, because we have to acknowledge that there were some mistakes made by Andrew Barry. And if we just pretend that those mistakes didn't happen, we are just sticking our head in the sand and pretending like everything's perfectly fine. It's not. This team went 3-14. There are some major issues here that need to be fixed. The beauty of the NFL is there is no league like the National Football League where you can go from worst to first and first to worst. A lot can change in an offseason. That's why football and the NFL is my favorite, is you're not stuck in the gutter forever. Whereas in, baseball, NBA, NHL, that can be the case. Before we sign off, I think it's one last time giving a shout out to the Brown and Orange Club for all their support during the 2025 season. Tim Green, Mike Dibble, Jeremy Stallman, Slow But Sure, David Botner, Jared Brandt, James Harper, Papa T, Joseph DePorte, Mike, Ray Bidding, Dr. No, Eli Green, John Porter, Scorpion, Max T, Jacob Bate, Drunken Honky, Pistol Slothy, Kiki, Richard Belt, James Belt, Nicholas Canfield, Ty Man the Buckeye, Paul Anderson, Miami Mac, A1 Eagles fan, USA, Doug Wick, Invalid Argument, Brian Petticord, Lawrence Burkett, Kathy Sidlecki, Jim Miro, Ken G, Sal Butera, and Rose. Thank you guys so much for being, with us every single step, every single game, all season long. But let's get to what you guys are really here for. It's the offseason, baby. It is Dylan Sutcliffe pick a card time. Here we go. If you are joining us for our first offseason, what I do to kind of make things a little bit more entertaining during the dog days of the offseason, which isn't until the summer, is we pick a random card. And I just invite everyone watching to play along. I got this idea from Part of My Take. They end their episodes with picking a random number. So I thought, okay, well, why don't we during the offseason, just to keep people a little bit more engaged in our content, is pick a card. So we have producer Reed. Which card do you want to go with for the first 2025 offseason selection?
This is just such a throwback, because anyone who has been with the channel for a while knows I started in the off season, and my first time doing this, I was like, oh my god, I'm on the mic. Let's go with King of Clubs.
King of Clubs.
Yes.
I'm gonna go with a solid. Last year 4 was really popular.
If somebody gets,
I'm gonna go with 5.
If somebody gets this on the first one of 2025,
that's you can give up your New Year's resolution right there. I'm gonna go with a 5 of hearts. 5 of hearts. No. 2 of hearts. 2 of hearts. All right. That will do it for us. I will see you guys maybe later today if we get some more news, or tomorrow at the very latest.